do you think? Y'all feeling the music?
I feel like I'm in the club.
You feeling pumped up?
Give me a drink, Dan Tordjman.
It's Travers
Why did you
Stakes.
stop the music? Why?
I can put it on again. I can put it
That's
on
not how a
again.
DJ works, Dan. You'll just stop right in the middle. That's not how it works.
While everyone's moving. Ren's feeling good. I'll tell you why Ren's feeling good, by the way. Before y'all came on, we did a preview show.
Good.
Everyone's like, oh, let's pick Pink Sands from the clouds. And when I say everyone, I mean me. And they're like, let's get creative. Ren's like, look, Serengeti Empress is the best horse in this field. Let's not overthink this. And Ren, of course, she took a bow, which is nice.
I tried.
All right, need some more winners. Some more winners. Just want people. Yeah, we've got 6 minutes. I'm going to stop doing the talking in a second. I'm going to pass it along. Just let basic introductions here. Ren Carothers with me up top. Bram Weinstein, Matt Bernier. We're going to be with you straight through the Travers. Just want to let you know you can watch the race on Fox Sports 2. You can watch the race now on Fox Sports 2. You can watch the Travers on Fox starting at 5. Keep us up the whole time, of course. We're your second screen. We're going to take you through. We're going to handicap. We're going to bet. Ren, we have, 5 minutes now until the weigh-up.
Okay.
It's race 9. Who do you like?
Well, I'll tell you, originally I was thinking My Sister Nat, who, by the way, fun pedigree fact, is a half-sister to Sister Charlie. I wanted to say My Sister Charlie, who Mississippi had gotten beat by. And so there's a bit of a family rivalry now, I think. So anyway, I really do like her, but she's also coming out of the same race as the outside horse, Fool's Gold, who actually won the YL last year. And Fool's Gold was part of the pace early on, just sitting off Mean Mary. Mean Mary is a very nice horse. She was that was her 4th win in a row. Her 3rd gate to wire victory. She got a 101 buyer for that. And she previously had gotten a 97 in the Orchid. Now, the horse who was sitting 3rd in that race, Call Me Love, she ended up being 4th, beaten 8 lengths. But she came back to get beat just a neck in the Bolston Spa to Starship Jubilee, got a 99 buyer for the effort. So at a better price. Let's see here. Fool's Gold at 4-1 over the 5-2 of My Sister Nat.
Okay, good enough. Bram, what do you think?
So I dislike all of them. In this race,
not how this works. That's not how this works.
It's very rare that I could come to a consensus literally on anything, and I got nothing for any of these. And I ended up landing, and I almost never do this because it's just like what I don't like doing. I'm going with a horse that's on a long layoff, and I don't normally do that. I don't, because I'm never really comfortable with that. I like to see some returns before I get on somebody, but I can't really buy into any of these others. Like Quiet Dignity's got the trainer change, so maybe there's a bump there, but doesn't typically run in races of this level and was in a low-level race and didn't win. And I like My Sister Nat, I guess, to some degree. And Olympic Games is just such a huge jump in class. And Fool's Gold's got 1 race this year, total no-show in it. And Bo Bell is a non-factor. So I landed on Mississippi and just decided that's the only way I can go. But if I'm being frank with you, I wouldn't touch this race. I'm scared of all of them. I don't like any of them.
Bram oozing enthusiasm the way out. The 2020 edition.
While you guys watch the race, I'm just going to go get down. That's what I'm going to do.
I'll say really quickly, Fool's Gold passes the eye test. Boy, does she look good out there.
All right. Matt, give us something.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not a brilliant opinion. I like My Sister Nat, and here, Ren pointed out the sibling, the half to Sister Charlie, and she's not Sister Charlie by any stretch, but she's pretty talented in her own right. And that New York Stakes, I think, is probably a lot better than maybe the page would suggest just at face value, because to Ren's point, I love Mean Mary. I think she's unbelievably talented. And when you give a horse of that caliber the sort of lead that she was able to get in that New York, they're not going to be able to run her down. The fact that My Sister Nat was able to rally as well as she did, and even if you go back and watch the tape, at the top of the lane, she actually had to wait for a moment, find a little bit of a seam, and then kicked on again at the end. First start off of a rather lengthy layoff. We hadn't seen her in about 7 months. I would assume we're going to get a forward move here. Second off the bench. I'm not terribly concerned that Chad's barn is not at the 28, 29% that we're accustomed to. 5-2, honestly, I figured we'd probably be closer to 8-5, 9-5 based on double will pays. We may be close to this 2-1, 5-2 when it's all said and done. So there's not a ton of speed in the race, but I'm going to go with My Sister Nat. I think she's just, perhaps it's a combination of maybe she is ready to take a step forward here, second off the bench. And maybe if you're going to get a horse like Mississippi, first off the bench, maybe that's the time.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't really have too much to add. I think visually she's getting better with each race. Didn't have the best of setups last time, and I think although this is again, they're going long enough where I'm not going to tell you that she's going to get a ton of pace to run into here or anything along those lines. But for as you mentioned, looking at the board right now, if you just want to make a straight win bet, I think 5-2 is more than fair value. Looking at some of the comments here, we got a bunch of people on saying hello. We want to welcome you to continue sending your comments in. Let us know who you like. Here's a question. Can anyone answer this question? When and where is the Breeders' Cup this year? A softball. Who wants it? Ren.
Okay, so the Breeders' Cup this year is in Lexington, Kentucky at Keeneland, November 6th and 7th. November 6th, of course, being Future Stars Friday.
You know where the Breeders' Cup is this year, Dan? It's in my basement. Like everything else this year, that's where the Breeders' Cup is, okay? We're not going anywhere. Get over it. We're all going to be doing this here. That's what we're going to be doing.
Well, we are going to be doing it. In all likelihood, we're going to be doing some version of this. Matt may actually have like real work that day, but for the rest of us, we'll probably just be in our basements. So.
Oh, I'll be working.
You're working too. Ren's
Future Stars Friday.
Yeah, Ren's working. Matt's working.
I assume we'll get to go down, but I'm right now. No sense in putting the horse before the cart or the cart before the horse. However that saying goes. Let's just a day at a time. We'll wait and see. But yeah, looking forward to the Breeders' Cup. Obviously, any year, but especially when we get to go to Keeneland.
Yeah.
As you can see here, some of the comments. We've got incredible viewers who look at the comments and try to help their fellow viewers. They see the questions. They want to help out. So Nick M chiming in, letting some of the people who'd asked, including Jack. That's the Breeders' Cup again. It's November 6th and 7th at Keeneland. Vanessa also chiming in, helping out her fellow viewers here.
Yeah, why didn't you mention just Roxy, who said, hi?
I think I put her up. I think she was up there.
I will say, I'm watching the feed. The 2 was getting very hot. She was starting to get the latherin sweat. Latherin is when you start to see the white, thicker sweat. But they let her cool down, just let her take a look at things, and it looks like she's better composed now.
All right.
My guess for Bo Bell, the 2 who Ren was talking about, I think the only way she can win is to go. So it's kind of a double-edged sword where, to your point, maybe she's a little bit worked up and maybe she's finally settled down a bit, but I think she has to go early on if she has any chance to win in a spot like this. And you just hope that she didn't expend too much energy in the post-parade and leading into the gate as opposed to actually during the run.
I want to mention, as we now are at 5 o'clock, for people looking for racing on TV while watching us, I could go ahead and pull this down now. You can watch it on Fox. Fox has your TV coverage. We're your second screen here, taking you straight through the Travers. And we'll have a couple of guests coming in. One just entered the green room. We're going to ask him to sit tight for a minute. We'll react to, you know what? Let's bring him in, right? Let's just bring him in to watch the whale with us, shouldn't we?
Sure.
Randy?
Hi, Randy.
How are you?
Great. It's
all right.
Travers Day.
Right?
I know you've got to be so excited.
Oh, for sure.
And should I explain why real quick?
Sure.
Randy Gullet. Am I saying your last name correctly, by the way?
It's perfect.
Okay. So he is part of Twin Creeks Racing, who bred Tis the Law.
Ooh.
Yes, very excited.
And so we will definitely want to get into all of that once we have the Waya run. Do you have a pick in this race?
I don't. I've been focusing all of my focus on the Travers today. So all these other big races, it's a blur.
I can't blame you, but we are so looking forward to getting your insight and getting to feel a little of the vicarious excitement as being part of that team.
Absolutely.
So, hang with us. We've got obviously a number of things we want to get into with you. At the moment, we're all kind of watching here on the side. We're watching the way that they just broke from the gate, and as I think we expected, Bo Bell on the lead. Bet down a little bit late too, 7-1. Wasn't she a bit higher?
Yeah, it took a little bit of late money. She
9-1.
was 10s going in, and now she's going to relinquish to Fool's Gold. It looks like going around, and I don't know where everyone is as far as whether it's the TV or if you're streaming it, but Fool's Gold. This is rather comfy sort of situation. 25 and a piece for the opening quarter.
Oh, nice, yeah. Looks very comfortable out there, and she actually went off at 6-1.
And to Ren's point, I mean, this is the horse that won this very race last year. So she's no stranger to Saratoga and winning on the graded stakes stage. And she's another one coming out of that New York Stakes where, again, I don't really hold it against her that Mean Mary kind of put the boots to the field because she looks like she could be a Breeders' Cup type.
Exactly.
So they've done a half and 50 and change now from what I'm seeing. Fool's Gold still very comfortable on the lead. Quiet Dignity, the long shot in the race, 29-1, currently tracking in second, back in third.
Trainer change, Dan. I mean, I thought there was some value there, at least on an exotic pick. If you were going to throw something in, the Quiet Dignity might have felt like on the bottom end of a ticket.
Hey, and look, and Gaff on the turf. I mean, I tweeted this yesterday. I didn't get that many likes. I don't know if I should be hurt by this, but I tweeted Gaff Leone on the turf, for me, best turf rider in the country right now. Maybe controversial, but for my money, if I have a horse running on the turf, I want Gaff. What do you think, Randy?
I agree. He won with Peaceful a couple of weeks ago for us. So yes, I'm all in with Gaff Leone.
All right, tracking in third now is Mississippi, but yeah, I mean, look, they're basically the order's unchanged. Bo Bell's back to fourth. I would think it's going to be a little tough from there because the horse has been wise, being kind of pumped on a little bit. My Sister Nat now making the move on the rail too, and looks absolutely loaded. Just needs somewhere to run.
Yeah, I was going to say, interesting place for Jose at that point. He ends up tipping out, and we'll see if he can get the jump on Mississippi.
I don't know where you guys are, but
Fool's Gold is still hanging in.
Bo Bell trying too.
Oh, here comes my sister Nat.
Come on, Nat. Come on, Nat. Get up.
And there she goes. I mean,
come on, Nat. Come on, Nat.
That half sister to Sister Charlie.
Nice.
So pick 5.
That's so interesting, by the way. I'll just say this real quick. It is interesting how different half siblings can look. Obviously, a sire will put a stamp on a horse here or there. This one's by acclamation. She's so much lighter built than Sister Charlie is.
So it is My Sister Nat, and then running in second. Pretty formful again. To Bram's, to us poking fun about Bram's enthusiasm, who knew this was going to be a chalk fest. Mississippi runs second. Fool's Gold game, I think she held on for third.
Yeah, it looks like she held on for third. I think kind of the critical juncture of the race was rounding that far turn. Was Jose Ortiz aboard Sister Nat or My Sister Nat going to follow along behind Mississippi? Instead, he chose to tip out and he got the jump on her. And when they're only separated by a neck, I can't help but think that was the difference maker.
Yep.
And perhaps a little bit of the layoff for Mississippi. I would imagine she takes a step forward, but motion's usually pretty good off the bench with these types. So she doesn't lose anything in defeat. I thought it was a fine return, and there's no reason to think that she won't go on to do good things going forward.
Agreed. So
yeah, Randy, where you're coming to us, I assume, live from the farm right now?
Twin Creeks and in Versailles, Kentucky.
All right. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the operation. I mean, you guys have been around for a while now. You've not only raced some horses that I think our viewers would be familiar with. You've also, obviously, as we've kind of touched on here, you've bred some horses and you have a number of stallions that people would know as well. Give us a sense for the entire operation.
So we started out as primarily a breeding operation, and we got lucky and got horses like Forest Camp and Two Honor and Serve and horses like that kind of got us on the map, and then we switched and added some racing to it, and so now we have our hands in just about everything.
Well, can you actually talk about? I was reading an article that had been written about you back when you were a trainer, and I believe you got more into all of the cultivation of a stable. Really building a stable by claiming in the very, very beginning. It's starting with a $7,500 horse, correct?
Well, at 18 years old and not a whole lot of money, and coming from Louisiana, we did what we could do. So we were dealing with $5,000 horses, $20,000 horses. So we started at the bottom and just worked our way up.
Yeah, well, you've got to be feeling just. The word is cliche, but it must feel surreal because not only did you breed Tis the Law, but you campaigned his sire Constitution.
No doubt. Coming from where we came, the hard way up and having a horse like Constitution, that was my dream of coming up with a racehorse that would be a stallion that would fund our whole operation. I didn't actually think it was possible, with the competition out there, but now it is, and now we're just living a dream.
Well, I'm sorry. Does anybody else have something to say before I jump into something a little more?
Ren, you're our farm pedigree. You keep rolling with this. We know you're in heaven right now.
Well, I love stuff like this. Now, there's a bit of a bittersweet note to the story of Tiz the Law. Can you talk about his dam, Tiz Fizz? Let's give her some love.
Absolutely.
And tell the viewers, we do have some siblings to look forward to, but.
So we bought her several years ago, just trying to support our stallions, and we got Tiz the Law. Obviously, we didn't know he was going to be Tiz the Law,
right?
But and then we bred her to Mission Impossible, another one. Our stallions, just trying to support him. And last year, in foal to Constitution, we lost her.
Yeah,
she colicked and died, and I was just sick. Just even for her. She was a special mare. We just sweet as can be. And this was kind of before we knew that Tiz the Law was going to be Tiz the Law. But, and then when that happened, we're like, you got to be kidding me. She's in foal to Constitution and we lost it. So,
right.
It's kind of part of the business.
No, I know. But I did read that, as you were saying, just a really sweet horse, and that she exuded such class. And you feel that Tiz the Law really got the class, that type of temperament and class from the dam, and he got the edge and the competitiveness from the sire.
100% agree. Yes, the mare was just absolutely sweet, and the Tiz the Law acted just like her. And then now he's got this Constitution will to win, and you're like, what else could he have?
Now, did you have a sense that he was going to be something special?
He was a horse that never did anything wrong. He was very athletic, just a dream to work with, but he wasn't like a special individual. I mean, we had other yearlings we thought could be probably better than him.
Really?
And then, as he got bigger, he just became Tiz the Law. And some of these are things that, as many years as we've been doing this, we can never predict,
No.
Are you going to be a champion? Are you going to be a grade 1 horse? He just showed all this potential, but you don't know.
You definitely don't. Now, can you give us some insight into what it has been like for you since that debut and where you are now?
Our focus has been on Constitution, trying to make him. So we were just trying to give him as many opportunities as we could. And we knew that, he was loaded with potential. So we're just trying to find a Constitution to make him a horse that just developed into a grade 1 horse, and to have it come from our stable is just like, you got to be kidding me. This is awesome.
No, it definitely is. And Constitution, part of what I also love about the horse, anybody who knows me knows I am a huge fan of AP Indy, and Constitution is keeping that sire line alive. He himself a son of Tappet, a son of Pulpit, a son of the Hall of Famer.
I absolutely love it.
Got to.
Just a quick step back for a moment, just to let people know we're about 23 minutes away from the 10th race at Saratoga. That's going to be the Test Stakes. No surprise, Gamine opens up at 1-9.
How do you beat her in here?
Yeah,
I think you just sit on your
Yeah, Matt, how do you beat her?
Well, I mean, you take a look at the double will pays. There's a pretty stark contrast between her and Venetian Harbor, and to me, it's a 2-speed number. It's the 5 and the 6. They're going to go, and I simply think they're better than the other 3 fillies lined up in here. But I wouldn't totally sell Venetian Harbor short, because I feel like the past 2 races that she's run, I don't think she's lost necessarily to more talented fillies. I think it's been a matter of the distance. I think she's the kind of horse that's going to really appreciate getting back to a 1-turn configuration, whether it's 7/8 of a mile here this afternoon, or if they chose to find some race down the road that ended up being a 1-turn mile. But I still think Gamine's going to win, but the discrepancy in the odds should not be this. They'll narrow as we get closer to post time. But if you are so inclined to gamble, I think Venetian Harbor is a legitimate threat to Gamine this afternoon.
Yeah, for the reasons you laid out, I actually like a little bit more of a price, not to win this race, but potentially to fill out an exacta. Perfect Alibi, I thought, was one who who's run her best races going 7 furlongs, also ran her best race going 7 furlongs. Also her first 2 wins came at Saratoga. And since then, I mean, look, the Acorn I put a line through. I mean, she was never really in the race. She was just wide and out of it the entire time. I wasn't really asked. You go back to the Breeders' Cup, Juvenile Fillies, she was also wide there, trying to track from way off of it, and nobody was closing from that far back. She did make a decent move, but they were all tired late there. So, I think the cutback here will really help her. I think she'll have no choice here but to be a little bit more forwardly placed. And I'm not just betting Tyler Gaffalione each race, but I am glad to see him land here. Bram, any thoughts?
Gamine won by 18 lengths. Is that right? So while you guys twist yourself into pretzels trying to figure out how to beat her, I'm going to go with that one's going to win. So
I'd have to agree.
Okay, because all I know is that is unlikely to lose. But if I'm looking for anything, I like Perfect Alibi as potentially an exacta, and I like Wicked Whisper potentially in an exacta. So I would probably box the 3 of them and hope, but I'm assuming that Gamine wins here and probably wins handily.
And can we keep Bob Baffert to only 1 win today?
What do you think about that, Randy? Him bringing Uncle Chuck from California here to race.
I'm not very happy about that.
Yeah, so that's. I mean, look, obviously we've gotten into, and for those just joining us here, we have Randy Gullet from Twin Creeks Racing, and they actually bred Tis the Law, who obviously is the star of the show today, but playing a close second there in terms of taking the stage here. Center stage is going to be Uncle Chuck. Just describe your emotions. First of all, I've seen you around the winner's circle plenty at Saratoga. I know if you had the choice and if you could, you probably want to be in Saratoga for this. Just describe some of what you're feeling today and kind of your thoughts about how this race the big race might unfold today.
So I think I've been going to Saratoga for the last 30 years at least. And this morning I was out working with the yearlings, and I was like, why am I in Kentucky? I should be in Saratoga. Makes me sick. But hey, it is what it is, and we're just happy to be here.
All right. And how about the race? I mean, do you obviously Baffert's done this before, right? He shipped in with horses, I will say, with much less fanfare than Uncle Chuck. Uncle Chuck probably comes in with more buzz than any horse he's brought to the Travers in a number of years, except for that one in 2015, but we knew about that one. But in terms of Arrogate came in sort of under the radar. West Coast, we knew what West Coast was, but ended up still going off at a decent price from what I remember. Wasn't that short. Uncle Chuck, I mean, they're talking about battling for favoritism right now. The screen just went up. Tis the Law's 3-5 currently. Uncle Chuck's 5-2. How concerned are you about Uncle Chuck?
So if there was any trainer in America that was the trainer of Uncle Chuck, we would not be having this conversation right now. But unfortunately, It's Bob Baffert. So yes, we're terrified.
I love that. We got to. That's the quote. Like I could just see it this should have been this morning's headline in the paper. We're terrified. Reader of Tis the Law.
Right. But I tell you what, Barkley Tag, what he has done with this Tis the Law is absolutely amazing. The horse could not look any better. I mean, he looks so confident. He did his home turf. He looks fit as a fiddle. Other than Bob Baffert, the horse looks amazing. I mean, I have all the confidence that, he's going to go out there and run. We just don't need Bob Baffert to go freak. That's all.
Well, your horse basically has already cultivated a fan base. What is that like for you, seeing T-shirts and road signs, all of that, the fanfare? How cool is that for you? It must be amazing. So it's an obvious answer, but can you elaborate on just how unique it is?
So I love those stop signs in Saratoga. I haven't seen one yet in person, but I've seen them on Twitter and Facebook, and I'm like, I'm going to get me a Tis the Law stop sign and put it on the farm, and we're going to add to all this.
That's right. Now, can you tell us about some of the flashy hardware you have behind you, by the way?
Ooh, yeah, there's some of those our good there's some Constitution stuff in there. There's a Florida Derby trophy.
Florida Derby, the Dawn.
Yes. So
very cool.
That was Great R in Mission Impossible. So
I do need to give your horse some pedigree love also, because I don't think a lot of people know. So now is he by Constitution, and then he's at Tispus, who's by Tiz now, the only horse to have ever won the Breeders' Cup Classic twice. So you have Classic winners top and bottom, because again, AP Indy sire line. But then the damsel full sister to Fury Cap Corey. And then great grandma, I believe it is a half sister to Breeders' Cup Juvenile Champ, and one of the only horses to have been named Horse of the Year at 2 years old, Favorite Trick.
I mean, he's supposed to be a good stallion too, right? Cool.
Yeah.
Lucky to get him.
So it's an incredible pedigree. It's definitely a sire's pedigree. So not only from the perspective of just how good he's been on track, it's got to be really. They've already got to be thinking about. I don't know. Has anybody even? Is there anything you can say regarding that, or no?
Well, Coolmore's already said they have him. That's where he's going.
Oh, okay.
So,
I must have missed that announcement somehow.
Ren, you missed anything related to this stuth?
I know.
What are you talking about?
What the heck, right?
By the way, you have fans here on the show, Ren.
I do.
Fans of your knowledge. I think they missed your choice in the race, which I think we're all on Gamine here, right? We've all been clear about that. There's this one's a little. We're gonna put you on the spot here a little bit, though. This one, they want your pick in the Travers. Randy, you may want to put your earmuffs.
Randy, I love Tizzle. My heart is rooting for you guys. Period. Okay. I'm just concerned.
Don't say it.
I'm concerned Uncle Chuck's gonna get out on the lead and nobody's gonna come get him. But I think that it is definitely possible that Tislaw is just so good that we could see another dimension to him and him hang closer, and then we could see a really cool duel there at the end. So I will be rooting with my heart, but if Uncle Chuck goes off at a better price, my wallet's got to go the other way.
I guess I'll take that.
To me? Why do you do that to me, Dan Tordjman?
Ren, he said he's terrified. I mean, he's not terrified because he doesn't think Uncle Chuck doesn't have a chance.
Randy, I'm on your team, man. I am. I'm completely on your team. I'm going to harken back to Rudy Tomjanovich, who said never underestimate the heart of a champion.
That's right.
I'm on the side with a champion today. I've seen Uncle Chuck beat 2 other horses in one race, and so scared. I'm not terrified, okay? I've seen what your horse can do, and I'm on your team today.
I love it.
Well, I think it goes without saying we're all fans of Tizzle, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, how could you not be? I mean, and look, the horse has got, swag, both figuratively and literally. There, you can buy plenty of Tiz the Law product. And on top of it, I think everyone loves the story, the ownership story with Saratoga Stables, their history with Funnyside, and it's just it's a team that's very easy to root for. Barclay Tag, obviously, and so and it's also cool to see what it's done for Manny Franco, who I think we all know is one of the best riders in the country. Sometimes it's overshadowed a little bit by those two brothers who always seem to be 1-2 in the standings. I
think the New York bred thing is another thing that it's not a so-called Kentucky bred, although he was raised in Kentucky, just like all of our Kentucky breds here. He's actually a New York bred, so I think that adds a lot to it.
Oh, definitely got the home team. I mean, it is amazing. He's already a 3-time Grade 1 winner, and had Barclay decided he wanted to go to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, this horse could have had that easily on his resume, but he opted. He just didn't want to ship him. He wanted to basically bubble wrap him, which I completely respect.
And champion 2-year-old.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, definitely. Absolutely. How close are you to the decision making? I know that you let them make the decisions, but I'm saying, do you get notice almost like the owners do, being the breeder? No. So you don't know what's happening. You're like us. You find out when we find out.
Exactly. Hey, I'll take it. The news has been good. So.
No, it's pretty stunning. It really is. But I also, from another perspective, with you having a training background, do you ever look at the work tabs for example, not that you're questioning, I'm talking about any horse at this point also, not just Tis the Law, but just in general, do you follow along with the horses that come off your farm and be like, well, I would have done this?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, I'm a huge critic. But you know, I've been in Todd Fletcher's barn and Steve Asmussen's barn with horses, so I have watched and studied them and saw what they do so awesome, and I'm a critic to everyone. But you know, this Barkley tag, I really can't criticize anything other than I wanted him champion 2-year-old. So I was on the fence whether he should run in California for that Breeders' Cup or not. But, you know, I probably, why aren't you running him in the Breeders' Cup? But, you know, where the horse is today, I'm not saying anything. He's done a fabulous job.
Well, I definitely don't think this horse is going to have any issue with the 1.25 miles. It's so weird to be like, oh, he's stretching out from the Belmont.
Yeah,
exactly. Which we got beat in the Belmont by a nose with Destin years ago.
That's right.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
So I could have used 1 1/8 of Belmont on that year.
Oh, no joke, right? So you must be happy because Vexatious is a half sister.
Can you believe?
I know.
I mean, amazing.
Do you have the mare, or?
I wish I had the mare. No, we bought Destin at the yearling sales.
Well, that definitely bolsters his resume. Hey, ladies.
Exactly.
Like,
he's got beautiful babies, and the breeders love him. So who knows?
Because he's already is he a half or a full to Creative Cause?
A full.
Full to Creative Cause.
So they're all full.
Oh, they're all full siblings. You're right. Full siblings. So you have Creative Cause, who was a grade 1 winner at 2 years old, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you've got Precociousness, grade 1 class. It's a really exciting family.
Sure.
So we're all on Gamine, like we said here. I will make a mention of
drifting up, by the way.
Oh, to 1 to 5.
What's Venetian
Watch
Harbor?
out now.
Hey, what's Venetian Harbor at?
5 to 1 right now.
5 to 1. All right. So like, because earlier when I saw like 6 to 5 or whatever, I'm like, that's not even worth it. I mean, like, where's the payoff there to even do that if you wanted to even go in that direction? 5 to 1, at least there's a little bit of juice behind it to take a shot if you really wanted to.
I wouldn't bank on that right now. I would venture a guess by the time it's all said and done, you're looking at 3 to 5 and 5 to 2. I don't know if that's still appetizing enough for you to take a shot, but
nope. Nope. 5 to 1, you told me. 5 to 2, I'm out. I mean, like, that's, you know, at that point, I'd rather go off the board a little bit and try to get lucky with an exacta. But if you get 5 to 1, you can sell me on, all right, I'll take a shot with Venetian Harbor.
We do have a question here. We sort of touched on this a little bit earlier. Who would you do the exacta box with here?
Mrs. Danvers.
And who else? So, yeah, Mrs. Danvers right now, 8 to 1. I can give you the exacta probables as they stand at the moment, but Matt, I think Venetian Harbor for you, obviously, it's hard. It's tough to play that exacta, obviously, but
yeah, the only way that I would really think about, and I'm not going to play the race, but if I were so inclined, I would play a cold trifecta of 5, 6, and 2 with Perfect Alibi clunking up for a piece underneath. And it's not so much that I don't think Perfect Alibi has some ability. I mean, clearly you brought up the story, Dan, where her best races came as a 2-year-old last year at Saratoga. I don't want to hold the 2-turn races, especially the Breeders' Cup, against her. And the Acorn for me was legitimately just draw a line through it. And not only was she coming off of a long layoff, but running into Gamine when she ran a hole in the wind. That doesn't mean anything about Perfect Alibi. She didn't do anything wrong there. So she, to me, would be the one if you are so inclined to try to do something like that. But even having said that, I mean, if I play that for $1, maybe it's coming back. I don't even want to put a number on it because if it went chalk, it's not going to be anything spectacular. So I would be more interested at this point. $9. So like
maybe.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, that's probably where you're going to end up landing with something like that. And I would be more interested if you like Gamine or if you want to try to take a shot with a horse like Venetian Harbor, trying to hook them up with whoever you think is going to win in the Travers. If you think it's going to be Tis the Law, if you think it's going to be Uncle Chuck, if you think it's going to be something outside of the top 2, that to me is a little bit more of an appealing play or a position to try to get involved with as opposed to just saying, oh, I think Gamine's going to win and collecting 20 cents on the dollar.
And I think Gamine Tis the Law, what does it pay, 10 cents?
Yeah.
I can't imagine it pays much.
Yeah, right.
Right now, it's
it's
not great. It's $1.
$1, big dollar.
Evens.
So you have to pay them $1?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That'll get you a candy bar.
They'll give you a ticket, right?
We do have actually a live report coming up right now from Saratoga. Randy, wanted to thank you for being so generous with your time, and we wish you obviously a ton of luck here.
One question before he goes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, the first horse you bought was what, $5,000? You said
$7,500, I think.
What cost more, that or the chair that you're sitting in right now?
It's probably equal.
I think so. That is a nice chair.
Who, by the way, I gotta give quick love. Who, by the way, is involved with aftercare, right?
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for not only letting us enjoy Tis the Law through your eyes, but also for what you do for the horses when they're retired.
Awesome. Thank you. We love them.
Thank you so much, Randy. Best of luck today.
Thanks, Randy.
Thank
Good luck.
you guys. See ya.
All right, as I mentioned, we have a live report coming in from Saratoga, a person I think we all know here in the room, and I'm assuming many of the viewers know as well, although he's typically behind a computer hacking away at reports from Saratoga for the Saratoga special. It's Tom Law. Tom, how you doing?
Hey, guys. How are you?
Hey, Tom. Can I be goofy? Because everybody knows I'm really super corny. I was like, why don't we get Tom Law? Because it's law on law.
Yeah, Tis the Law. It's the greatest racehorse name in the history of racehorse names, as far as I'm concerned.
We're speaking with Tom the Law.
I didn't lose you.
I told him we needed a gavel.
Oh, there you go. I think, we still have you. If you hear us, stay where you are. And actually, you're positioned perfectly right now because you got the sponsor in the back. You got Run Happy, right? Happy. The Travers, sponsored by Run Happy. Tom Law, sponsored by Run Happy.
I'm in the paddock runway. I actually just got here today. I was at a.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
He's frozen. Okay, we got you back now. Nope, he's frozen. He's frozen. All right, Tom, try it again. Yeah. Try it again. Check back in with us in a moment. We're going to give him a moment to try that again. We were hoping, since there are no fans there, Wi-Fi wouldn't be an issue, but I guess sometimes when you move around also you might be moving in and out of a good area. Tom here with a very good observation. Bram, lying in wait with that question. Lying in wait. It's very, very well delivered too.
I know my role. I'm not here to provide information.
That was a wham bam thank you Bram type question. I'm sorry, somebody put me up to that. There was a wager to use that.
Did Tom the Law put you up to that or no?
No. It's just I'm known for puns and for corniness, so this person dared me to be that corny.
Tom
again, he's frozen.
We can see a frozen Tom.
His hair looks great though.
It does.
His hair looks amazing.
Haircut, if you ask me, that's not a COVID haircut. That's a professional one. Yeah.
And what if he's not frozen, but what if he's just kind of like letting the wind catch his hair right now, and he's just kind of standing there,
yeah.
and because he knows he looks good
on purpose because he thinks he looks good. That's why he sent it. He doesn't want to do a report. He just wants us to admire him right now.
That's awesome.
So Tom, try us again.
Yes.
We'll get it. We've had this happen on occasion. We'll get it. We promise. Annie here.
Pay your cell phone bill, man. It'll work out. All right.
Annie asking, will they broadcast the test in Travers? So you keep us up here as your second screen. If you're watching from home and want to put the actual race on TV, you could tune in to Fox and watch the races. And actually, we got a little short video for you to get you a little excited for the big race. I don't see you dancing there, Bram. You don't like that song as much?
No, I do like it. Actually, little did anyone know, Dan is actually DJ Marshmallow. So now the secret's out. Now we know.
Let me go get my head Like a marshmallow head.
I got to get a stick and get you toasted.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Ren, can I get a quick question for a moment?
Yeah.
So with Gamine, let's just say hypothetically,
sure,
she gets through this. Baffert has brought up the Oaks, obviously, given her the way that she's run so far. I mean, from a pedigree standpoint, you look at the run 2 back at Oaklawn. I don't want to say she was getting short at the end, but I mean, Speech made her earn it, and Speech is a really talented filly in her own right. But it was a 1 1/8 seem like that's actually what this is going to be her game, or is she going to be better off with these sort of shorter races?
Oh, look, I think she could have gone in I think she could have been pointed at the Derby, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I mean, here's the thing: horses that are super efficient movers can overcome any pedigree limitations you may see on the surface. For example, look at Fuzaichi Pegasus. He's by Mr. Prospector, and he wins the Kentucky Derby, and he didn't have a ton of speed on the bottom side either. But that being said, here's the other thing that makes her kind of freaky and kind of you would think it's a speed influence, but she's inbred to Ice Capade. So Ice Capade, a lot of people forget, is half brother to Ruffian.
Okay.
So there's just sort of like this aura of being connected to a horse like that. That's pretty exciting. And if you look at her physically, and this is another thing, we can glean so much from pedigree, but a lot of times you'll see horses that conformation wise don't necessarily fit. For example, you might have a horse that looks like sprint pedigree, but they look like they can go a mile. You might have a horse who's got mile pedigree. It looks like they could go 2 turns. She looks like she could definitely go Oaks, no problem. I don't see any issue with that. And again, look at Into Mischief being a half brother to Beholder, who in Beholder's by Henny Hughes. So,
exactly. And she got 1 1/4, no problem.
Oh gosh, that Pacific Classic also, by the way.
That move on the far turn is still, it's like burned into my brain. I remember watching it at a bar in New York City right after I got done. Oh. And she looked like a car, just driving by all the boys and just dusted them. I said, this is crazy.
We were at Ciro's actually watching it.
Hey guys, just real quick, I want to mention we do have our next guest in the green room as Tom Law attempts to continue trying to check in. We do have another guest to bring in, and actually, we may as well bring him in to watch the Test Stakes with. It's Todd Fletcher. Hello, Todd.
Todd, hi.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
So where are you?
Oh, congratulations.
Yes, congrats. Big win earlier on the card.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that was exciting. I'm actually at my house in Saratoga. Just came back from the barn and got the test on in the background.
Nice.
All right. For those of you who don't know, Todd Fletcher, of course, a 2-time winner of the Travers, first with Flower Rally back in 2005. Came back, did it again with Stay Thirsty in 2011, owned by Rapoli Stable, also the owner of Uncle Mo, currently 3rd amongst North American sires in earnings, and more importantly and timely, sire of a certain horse running in the Travers today as well, in Uncle Chuck. And so we want to talk about all of that. For now, as they're loading into the gate here for the test, Todd, be interested in hearing your thoughts. Is it Gamine and that's it?
Well, certainly if she repeats anywhere close to the Acorn, it certainly looks to be one-horse race. But as we all know, crazy things sometimes happen at Saratoga. So we'll watch with interest. But she was extraordinary in the Acorn.
For sure.
Agreed.
Matt, are you going to do the play-by-play for us? You seem to have the best signal. You seem to be ahead of us by about 2 seconds for every race.
I mean, I don't know if I can do any, I don't want to eclipse Johnny I. I don't know that I've got that ability, but I would at least, I'll give you the heads up on where some of the horses are positioned. I'll be stunned if it's not 5 and 6 out there just winging it and dinging it early on, but we'll see. Maybe something, a little bit of a fly in the ointment. One of the other girls down on the inside decide to go.
I'll give you the play-by-play. Gamine, nobody catches Gamine, and Gamine wins. There's the play-by-play.
Well, so far you're off to a good start because Gamine's out there, Venetian Harbor, but Venetian Harbor is going to make her work a little bit early on. I feel like this is the sort of situation from a handicapping standpoint. If there are only 2 speeds in the race, there have been so many people that I've spoken to that feel this way, and who knows, maybe it'll play out here, maybe it won't. But there's only 2 speeds. Don't try to get cute. Just let them go, and that's more often than not going to end up working out for you. 22 and 3 for an opening quarter too. If these girls are this good, I mean, I don't want to say it's slow, but more than capable of handling this.
Mrs. Danvers looks good, tucked in just behind them as well. At least on my screen, it's still going pretty well. Maybe is now being asked a little bit more. and a little bit of a move here on the outside from Up in Smoke from Off the Pace. Still has a good amount of work to do. Perfect Alibi also being pumped on, and looks like it's going to be a tough job from all the way back there. Well, look, Venetian Harbor is not going away, but
she's trying. But boy, this Gamine is a monster.
This is a hand ride. It's unbelievable, the talent. And again, you see just how efficiently she moves too. And this is what I'm talking about. You can mitigate anything you're concerned about pedigree-wise. Although, like I said, I think there's enough to back that up too. Just how efficient she is.
That was smoking.
Holy mackerel.
That was smoking.
Great race call, Bram. You nailed it.
Well, yeah. And that's why they pay me the big bucks, Dan.
Todd, if you train this filly, what would you do with her next?
Well, she's so gifted. I mean, what she just run on 120 and 4. I can't quite see it from here.
20 and 4,
yeah. Off a slow first quarter for her. So she obviously is very, very gifted. It's anywhere from 3/4 to a mile. Now, no one's better at stretching horses out than Bob Baffert. So I'm sure he's got some thinking to do with the Oaks coming up.
Certainly exciting. And just speaking of knowing horses, and as we're looking forward now to the Travers, your record speaks for itself as a trainer, but you also, even though you don't have a horse in this year's
we can't have Ren freezing now.
Am I freezing?
No, she's good.
Oh, I froze. I'll shut up. I'm going to shut up. Bye.
So what I was saying is, so Todd, you might not have a horse entered in this year's edition of the Travers Stakes, but you must feel closely connected because the two top horses themselves are sons of horses you did train, with Uncle Chuck being a son of Uncle Mo, who won the 2010 Breeders' Cup Juvenile for you, as well as Eclipse Champion 2-year-old male honors. And then you also have Tis the Law by Constitution, a multiple Grade 1 winner. So how is it for you? I mean, do you root for both? I mean, how do you pick your child?
Well, it's hard not to root for Barclay Tagg and Tis the Law. It's been, it's great for him and his team, and they've done an unbelievable job managing his career and have kept him in top form for so long. Uncle Chuck's obviously a very interesting horse. He reminds me of Uncle Mo, the way he's got that big, long stride and high cruising speed. But I think, just with the experience that Tis the Law has, I think he's certainly the horse to beat.
Take us back to you sort of your favorite memories. Obviously, mentioned your highlights in the Travers specifically. Obviously, this year being a lot different without fans there, without the same energy. But for those who don't know what it's like to be at the track on Travers Day, and then also kind of just from your perspective, obviously as a trainer, just describe just sort of the emotion and the energy of Travers Day, and especially on those days when you've been fortunate enough to have the horse that came out on top.
Well, I was actually talking to Jeremiah Englehart this morning. We were up on the 3rd floor watching breezes and just talking about how strange it was coming in this morning. Usually when you come into the barn at 4:30, people are lined up all the way down the street, camping out, waiting to get those first picnic tables. And it was kind of sad to see that we don't have that kind of atmosphere and crowd, because Saratoga is really an electric crowd every day. But on Travers Day, it's special. And for me, clearly the most exciting Travers for me was our first win with Flower Alley, and it was just it's such a fun victory. Melnicks were really helpful in getting my career started, and he had won the Jim Dandy, and we felt like he was just coming up to the race in such great shape. And Bellamy Road was the horse for us to beat, and he hadn't started since the Derby, so we felt like we had a little bit of a fitness edge. But I'd watched his last breeze prior to the Travers, and literally galloping out, it was all they could do to pull him up back at the 3/8 pole. So I was concerned, because I knew he hadn't run in a while, but I also knew he was very fit based on that work. So John Velasquez did a perfect job of kind of tracking Bellamy Road, and every time he needed to turn up a little pressure, he went after him, and then kind of settled back a little bit, and he just kept turning up the momentum as the race went along. And the first one's always special.
Todd, can you take me through the year a little bit? Like, obviously everything's been really upside down for everybody. How you've handled everything from training the horses to getting ready for these races when there were all these disruptions that were happening?
The hardest thing, especially early on, was just keeping schedules straight. And we were fortunate. We were in Florida with most of our horses, and we were able to keep racing at Gulfstream, and that was a huge benefit. But I don't think ever before we had so many jockeys, scrambling to try to figure out who was able to ride, who wasn't able to ride, where you were going to go, and so that part of it from a scheduling perspective, and just the uncertainty of not knowing when Belmont was going to open, when Saratoga, if it was going to open, and all those things. So the basic part is, we're going in, we're taking care of the horses every day, and we were able to keep training. But the most difficult part was sort of the unknown aspect of not always having a target date that you could circle and point towards.
Well, it was really exciting to see earlier on the card. There was a lot of buzz about this 2-year-old of yours, Musa Sabek, which basically, to any of you out there who are curious, it's Arabic, basically, is a competitor, a racer, a real racehorse. So anyway, the ton of buzz about this horse, and he certainly came through for you. And he, like Amin, buy into mischief. So can you tell us about him?
He is a beautiful colt. We're very, very lucky to have picked him up from Shadwell, and he came into Belmont, and right away when we started breezing him, he was touting himself, and everything came very easily to him. He's a very handsome horse, very mature, and when we got to Saratoga, he really put forth a couple of outstanding gate works. But the thing that concerned me a little bit, even though he was working great from the gate, his first step isn't always as fast as you would think for a horse who's as fast as he is. So I was really relieved when he drew post 7 of 7. I thought that was a perfect post for him. And he didn't break super sharply today, but he's able to put himself into a perfect stalking position from there. And, he won as we'd hoped, and kind of seemed to have something left in the end. So, it's always exciting this time of year if you have a promising 2-year-old.
Yeah, they were saying on the broadcast a little earlier that especially when you have a promising 2-year-old that wins on the Travers Stakes undercard, for whatever reason, this seems to be a good day to take note of. They come back and generally do good things after that. Want to invite anybody who's watching to take advantage of this opportunity. Todd Fletcher with us. If you have a question, please send it in. Matt, I want to kind of pivot to you briefly, just as we start looking at this year's Travers, because I'd also, now that we have Todd with us, like to get his perspective on this race from the perspective of fans and as handicappers. We want to know how this race might play out. Matt, I'll let you set it up, and then maybe pivot to Todd from there for his sort of vision of how this race may unfold.
I mean, I know we've all billed it to be Tis the Law versus Uncle Chuck, but there are other really talented horses in this race. Country Grammar is a nice one who looks like still a little bit green, but seems to be coming along. Caro, second off the long layoff for Gustavo Delgado. No reason to think he won't improve either. Another son of Uncle Mo in this race. And some of the other horses, Max Player, I don't want to give him short shrift. He looks like a horse that the longer the better. But it does feel like this is one of those instances where the two best horses, at some point, they're going to hook up. They're going to look each other eye in eye and say, who's got it? Tis the Law is the known commodity at this point, as opposed to Uncle Chuck, who looks like he could be anything. When I first saw Mike Smith with the comment or the quote after the career debut for Uncle Chuck, and he made a comment comparing him to Arrogate, I thought that was high praise. Wow. and a little bit, kind of caught me off guard. And then you go back and you watch that Los Al Derby. I understand, to Bram's point, he only defeated 3 other horses. And I'm not even bringing up the fact that 1,000 Words came back to flatter the form, but
with a 104 buyer.
With a 104 buyer, but for a horse like Uncle Chuck to get the final 1/8 of a mile on dirt, and I get it, time isn't everything, but the final 1/8 in 11:85, that's a turf fraction. That's not a dirt fraction. And he still galloped out by another 1/4 mile. He never looked like he took a deep breath. He's the one I'm most fascinated to see.
Had a pretty good hold on him too, and wanted him to feel that pressure from both sides. And then once he asked him, the way he took off was just visually I was blown away. Todd, did you see that race? Do you know what we're referencing here in terms of how the horse just kind of blew away? That Los Al Derby, small field, but you could tell by looking at a horse's stride, right?
I could, yeah. Like I said, he reminds me of the running style that Uncle Mo had, that big, long, galloping stride, but yet still fast. And I agree. I like the way, not only the way he finished, but the way he galloped out afterwards. It seemed like he had something left, and so I thought that was very impressive for such a lightly raced horse. And And Bob's proven that he can do that with horses that don't have that much experience and step into really big spots.
That's the thing. When I was watching the race, to me, his stride's almost scary. I watched the Los Alamitos Derby, and then I went back and I watched some of his previous works before he even, I guess they changed his name at some point. And he just moves in a way that really captures your imagination of what is this horse capable of. Again, we're talking about how he beat Thousand Words and Thousand Words. I mean, that was a $1 million purchase, Thousand Words. I mean, whatever his form had been prior to winning the Shared Belief, they had big hopes for that horse. So then he finally wins the Shared Belief, gets that 104 buyer. And then as far as just the pedigree goes of Uncle Chuck, also not only by Uncle Mo, you're a half-brother to McLean's Music, a horse who got a 114 buyer on debut at 2 years old. They're off to Kentucky as well. Forest Music herself was a really good racehorse. He's probably getting the size from her because she's by Unbridled Song. Of course, by Unbridled, who won the Kentucky Derby. And then on the bottom side, you've got multiple Travers winners. You've got Damascus in there. You've got Damascus Sire Sword Dancer. And you have Buck Passer in there. So he certainly has the credentials.
Todd, can you recite all these bloodlines as naturally?
Not as good as Ren, that's for sure. But I tell you a horse that I think is a little bit interesting is the other Uncle Mo in there, Caracaro. I thought he ran a huge race in the Peter Pan off the layoff. And I don't know if the turnaround's enough time for him to make another move forward, but that was a terrific comeback for a lightly raced horse, and it's I think almost a 6-month layoff, and to come back and run well in the Peter Pan, I thought was very respectful, and I thought Max Player ran a sneaky good race in the Belmont. Yeah. The track was very speed favoring that week, and he was one of the few horses to really make an impact closing. So I'd be surprised if the winner's not Tiz the Law or Uncle Chuck, but I think those two horses are a little bit interesting.
Since you mentioned the way the track was playing, based on the way the track is playing right now at Saratoga, do you think a horse like Max Player has a little bit of a tough time today, and potentially coming from off the pace?
It could. We haven't had a lot of 2-turn races to look at, but it certainly seems in the 2 7-furlong races. Neither Filly were surprised, but I thought Serengeti Empress, when she went, broke slowly and rushed up and went 43 and change. That was a huge effort on her part. So it does appear like the track is playing kind of speed.
You mentioned Caracaro, currently 23-1, with a jockey who I think has won the Travers once or twice, Javier Castellano aboard. Look, that's an exciting price, pretty juicy price, 23-1. Tiz the Law, 2-5. I mean, look, holding steady. I mean, they posted the odds board a couple of times throughout the day. Has been 2-5, 3-5 all day, and that means Uncle Chuck's 5-2. I feel like there's, we don't know what Uncle Chuck is yet, but I feel like 5-2 is just flashing right now in front of my eyes. And I'm like, how do you, that horse stays at 5-2. The other ones just want to mention, Country Grammar, as Matt alluded to, 16-1 right now. Max Player is 12-1. Chivalry, who might be alone on the lead for a while, 66-1 right now. And South Bend, 26-1.
I would imagine the prices are they're gonna narrow a bit as we get closer with Uncle Chuck and Tiz the Law. You take a look at some of the will pays. I'm gonna just venture a guess to say 4-5 and 2-1, because there's really not a giant separation between the two. I think you're gonna tick down maybe one more with Uncle Chuck, but I agree with you. I mean, at 5-2, it's not that I don't like Tiz the Law. I think he's a very, very likable and easy to root for type. I just, from a gambling standpoint, it would be difficult for me to turn down 2.5-1 on Uncle Chuck right now.
Todd, what impresses you about Tiz the Law?
Well, what really impressed me the most is he has the unique ability to have a high cruising speed, put himself into a great position, and then, as you saw in the Belmont, deliver another acceleration off that. Makes him very, very difficult to beat because he can position himself anywhere. The pace is slow. He's going to be on top of it. It's fast. He can sit back, and then he's got that big closing kick. So seems like such a cool horse to be around. He seems unfazed with everything. Every time I've seen him in the paddock, he's just completely composed, and he's been training well. I've seen his breezes here. He appears to be ready.
So what do you think about, I mean, just in terms of, campaigning a 3-year-old this year, as we've touched on, has been a little different, but, you've won the Belmont here, let's say with Tis the Law, and obviously the next target is the Derby. What do you think about the placement here? And is this? Do you think you would have followed a similar path? I mean, I know it all depends on owners, and there are a lot of other considerations. But what do you think you would have done in this situation?
Well, I know for sure for the Saratoga people that the Travers that's where they wanted to go, kind of regardless of where it was positioned. But I think from a trainer's perspective, in an ideal world, you would have liked to have this race last week. So you had a little less time after the Belmont, and you get that extra week to the Kentucky Derby. But this is where it's scheduled, and like I said, I think Tis the Law is trained really well up to it. Maybe the extra week helped Uncle Chuck. But from just my perspective, and this is one of the considerations we had when we decided to run Dr. Post in the Haskell, was if we're going on to the Kentucky Derby, we'd prefer to have the 7 weeks off a 1 1/8 race than 4 weeks off a 1 1/4 race.
Related question, just because I think in assessing how people are going to bet this race and expect the race to unfold, they might think, well, look, Tis the Law doesn't need any points. He's in the Derby. Uncle Chuck doesn't need to win. I mean, needs to run well, though, and he needs a few more points to make the field. Do you, before the race, and not that Manny isn't aware of this, but do you give any instruction, or at least maybe just sort of say, hey, listen, look, if Uncle Chuck is the goods and he's loaded for bear, do not empty this horse out today. Like, there are other targets down there. Like, there is no need for that. Or do you not even have that discussion?
For me, that's always been the kiss of death, is to assume that something's going to happen. And if you ever tell, like, make sure you gallop out strong, or if you're winning, ease up. No, I'm too superstitious for that type of thing. But I mean, you're gonna obviously, the first task at hand is, let's try to win the Travers, and then you're gonna hope that it's not a gut wrenching situation and you have 4 weeks to come back. But first and foremost, I think they're locked in on trying to win today, and that's what you should be. And then you hope you come out of it well and you have a good 4 weeks. But I don't think they're looking beyond today right now.
Dan, you play to win the game. Hello. You play to win the game.
But as sometimes if you're playing the long game, as Todd could tell you, I mean, there are form cycles, there are setup races. This is not a setup race.
This is the Travers Stakes, Dan.
But it's not the Kentucky Derby.
$20,000 claimer at Aqueduct on a Wednesday.
It is not the Kentucky Derby, though. And like, I just, I feel that, I mean, there has to be, maybe it's just something that goes unspoken or unsaid. You got to save something. I mean, you got to save something. I mean, there's no need to be all out just to prove a point today.
If they didn't want to be here, though, then they shouldn't have raced in this race. You know what I mean?
But they do want to be here.
About it. Like, I think it's important to them. I really do. I think it's important to them. It's like the hometown hero thing for them. They want to win the race.
Oh, they want to win the race, and they do want to be here. I think they would have preferred that Uncle Chuck didn't show up.
I agree with that.
They prefer no one showed up. I mean, that'd be fine. They'd take a walkover. But in 2020, you can't assume that there's going to be a race 4 weeks from now.
That's a great point.
Todd, how's Dr. Post doing?
Yeah.
Excellent. He breezed yesterday. Very happy with him. And, we've got September 5th locked in on the calendar, and we'll make a decision if it's going to be the Kentucky Derby. But a little conversation with the Violas today, and I think we're leaning that way. We're obviously watching today's developments and tomorrow at Ellis and those kind of things, and how our horse continues to do. But I feel like he's a little bit of an under the radar horse that has enough talent to win a big race. So we're excited about it.
Well, you definitely know about that. You won the Kentucky Derby with Super Saver, and then in 2017 with Always Dreaming. Just this past Breeders' Cup, you won the Classic with Vino Rosso. How does it feel, though? Just, I mean, not only have you made the careers of racehorses, but you've made a lot of sire careers. I mean, one of the horses that really stands out to me, well, two actually, Speightstown and More Than Ready, who More Than Ready, I believe, has the record of most progeny wins in the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, two very special horses to me, and More Than Ready is was certainly him and Jersey Girl were two horses that I felt like really got my career going. And his career is just, I mean, his racing career was phenomenal, but what he's done as a stallion, not only here, but in Australia, is just phenomenal. And they tell me he's still, just stopping mares at a very high percentage, and
nice.
Just a terrific horse. I mean, a beautiful horse, great personality, and it's just been a lot of fun to see him do so well for so many years.
I have two funny stories, actually. So when I finally knew that like my star had risen, no, I'm joking, but no, I finally got some notoriety. I happened to be at the Preakness. I'd never spoken to Todd in person before. I'd seen him around. I was always intimidated because he's Todd Fletcher. So happened to be in the saddling enclosure, and I happened to be standing right next to him. I'm like, okay, now it's weird if I don't say hi. So I said, hi, I'm Ren Carothers. I'm Matt Carothers' wife. And he says, oh, I know who you are. You're that one who knows all about pedigrees. And I was like, get out of town. Todd Fletcher knows who I am. This was my first anecdotal story. And then my second, I'll never forget, after you won the Kentucky Derby, part of the, in addition to the purse monies and all that, the truck that you got as winning trainer. And I thought it was so moving that you said that, okay, I'm going to keep the truck just because it means something to me, but I'm going to donate the value of it to aftercare. And I thought that was tremendous.
Yeah, it's actually in my driveway right now. It's a that Kentucky Derby 2017 on there. I feel I love that truck.
Todd, we know that you are, beyond that, I believe New Vocations, Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance. Excuse me. Is there anything you would say, to anybody watching, just in terms of, the need to support organizations like that in particular?
Well, especially if you look at this particular year and so the aftercare programs, those are monumentally important every day, every week, every year, but especially in years like this when economic pressure can be turned up. We need to make sure that there's places for them, but also from the human perspective, when you look at what some of the organizations have done, and especially the racetrack chaplaincy program at NYRA, they have helped so many people, and they always do. But those organizations behind the scenes, they don't get a lot of notoriety, but what they do for so many people in the backstretch is so important. So if we take care of the people that are taking care of the horses, and we take care of the horses during their careers, and most importantly afterwards, making sure they have good homes, then the game is going to be much, much better off. And I think that's an area that we've made a lot of progress in the last few years. Yep.
We have a few comments coming in. One from Vanessa Kerr, who says that she owns a small share through My Racehorse of Lady Valentine, and she's hoping to see her develop under Todd. We have a couple of other comments. We have some viewers from Chile watching, and here's an interesting one. Gamine would have won the Travers. Opinions?
It's easy to say before the boys go out there and run. I think it would have been a big ask to go from a 1-turn mile to 10 furlongs against the likes of these horses, but the way that she ran, I'm not going to argue with anyone that has that opinion.
What's your, Todd? We haven't seen it as much in recent years. Fillies racing against the boys, specifically in the Triple Crown races. Is that still sort of a delicate subject? We all remember, 8 Bells and kind of, it seems like, since then that there's been sort of a hesitancy to get involved. When you talk to owners, specifically owners who have really good fillies who could potentially enter a race like that, are you extra sensitive to that? And that's sort of a topic that really gets only brought up, in quiet. And again, with a certain degree of, there's that risk there. There's sort of that public perception risk and all the rest of it. Do you think that some owners have been too cautious?
To me, I think the biggest issue now is with the new point system, and Fillies don't have an opportunity to earn points into the Derby while competing against just fillies. So if you're leading up to the Kentucky Oaks and you decide, hey, I want to take a shot and run in the Florida Derby or Arkansas Derby or one of those, you're you're not only potentially giving up the opportunity to run in a Grade 1 race like the Ashland and create some real residual value, but you're also risking not earning any points and putting yourself in jeopardy to not get in the Oaks possibly. So I think that's one of the things that maybe, and I like the point system. I don't have a problem with it. I don't think there is a perfect system, but I think it's a very good one, but it is a little bit unfair to the fillies.
Since we've asked you to put yourself in the shoes of about 5 other trainers already, I want to put you in the shoes now of Kenny McPeak. And if you trained Swiss skydiver, would you have potentially taken a swing off the effort in the Bluegrass?
A swing into the Derby?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think he still might. I think she's planning to run in the Alabama on Saturday, and so I'm not sure which direction he'll go off that. Maybe he's going to use that to determine if she'll handle the 1.25 miles and look at that. But I mean that's a tough decision. It was it was an ambitious move, and if she wins the Bluegrass, I think possibly that enhances her value. But again, not going into the Ashland is also that's a tough race to bypass.
Bram, you spoke to Kenny, and I think your sense was at the time, at least, now this is a couple of weeks ago, that he was leaning against, but maybe
the Oaks, at least initially, but they hadn't clearly made the decision yet. So I think that they're considering. I mean, had she won that race, I think it was a no doubt that they were going to do that. And they took a swing there, and he was talking about a lot of metrics and looking at the charts and just seeing if he really thought that there was a realistic shot. But they may take a swing at it. I have a big picture question for you, Todd, that I'm curious about. Because here's Uncle Chuck today. He's raced twice, right? And I know the situation's very odd because the Derby got moved because of the pandemic. A couple of years ago, Justify won the Triple Crown, hadn't raced as a 2-year-old. That hadn't happened in whatever it was, forever.
Apollo.
Have those situations seen success that way? Has that changed your mind in certain situations with some of your own horses about how you could lead them into a Triple Crown series?
Well, I mean, I think that the trend has certainly been towards less racing in general prior to, even the traditional Triple Crown series. So we've seen horses making less and less starts, and a lot of 2-year-olds getting off to later starts. And obviously in the case of Justified, not until I think it was January 17th, 18th of his 3-year-old year. But it's just, I mean, I think that's a trend that you're going to continue to see. There's a little bit less really. We were talking about More Than Ready, for example, when he broke his maiden in April of his 2-year-old year at Keeneland, he ran back in the WHAS on Derby Day, and then he ran in the Summer Stakes at Belmont, and then he ran in the Tremont on the 4th of July, and then he won the Sanford at the end of July. He had started 5 times before the first of August, and so you don't see that very often anymore. And I think that's just kind of been the trend of racing. And now, one of the issues you have sometimes when you break a maiden with a 2-year-old really early is you don't have anywhere to go. So it kind of there's not a lot of incentive to get them cranked up too soon.
What do you think is driving that most? A lot of people have said it's, in certain cases, trainers not wanting to affect their percentages. Obviously, a big trainer like you don't have to worry about that. But do you think that's part of what's pushed that trend, or just the breeding, the breed itself?
I think it's a mindset, really, that some people feel like putting pressure on horses too early, might not be productive in the long term. And, I think you can argue both sides of the fence. And I think, over the years, a lot of the best horses that we've gotten in are the ones that come in early, and they come in early because they're professional, they train well, they're sound, and, and they continue to be that way throughout their career. So, sometimes, I think there's the mindset, oh, we'll wait and we won't pressure them and they'll be sound for the rest of their careers. And that's really not true. The one thing Wayne Lucas always said when I was working for him is you got to get into the gym, you got to work out, and so I think there's some truth to that.
I completely agree. We've read many studies on bone modeling for these 2-year-olds and how important it is to let them have that regimen to build their strength. And to your point about the fillies, I'll personally say I love seeing the fillies against the males. We see it all the time in Europe. So I'm a fan.
Sure.
Ren, you've read a lot of studies on bone study and that sort of thing. Matt, I know, has been doing a lot of daily racing form reading. And we've got a few minutes now until the Travers. Todd, you've been great with your time. We're hoping you'll stick with us for just a few more minutes so we can watch this race together. If not, just wave or just say goodbye and flip the table and leave. Matt, 2-1 right now in Uncle Chuck. So as you suggested, price coming down a little bit. Tis the Law still 1-2. Just going to read through the board, and then I want your pick, and we'll go around the room. Country Grammar right now 13-1. Max Player 11-1. Chivalry 66-1. Caracaro still a good price 18-1. South Bend 28-1.
Yeah, I mean, look, from a number standpoint, I'm just very intrigued by Uncle Chuck, by the unknown of what he could be. Tis the Law is the professional. He's as professional as they get at this point. Uncle Chuck, to me, is the upside play and the potential of what could be. It feels like he's just kind of scratching the surface. He still looks a little bit green out there, swapping leads down the lane. I think there's another forward move there. I'm not suggesting there isn't one with Tis the Law, but from a gambling standpoint, 2-1, no great shakes. I would be more interested in trying to play some sort of a superfecta with both of those horses in first and second. And then I'd keep Caracaro in third and fourth and use all sort of on the opposite ends to try to catch maybe a horse like South Bend, who on paper is not as fast as some of these other runners, but I think he will run all day. Maybe he can just clunk up and get a piece of this thing. It's not a brilliant opinion, but I think the two favorites in the race are the goods. I'm going to go Uncle Chuck over Tis the Law.
Bram?
I'm going to go with the never underestimate the heart of a champion. I'm taking Tis the Law today. Uncle Chuck looks like a freak to me, and I guess he could probably prove that out today, but I'm going to go with Tis the Law because I know what I've seen so far this year, and it's really amazing. So I'm going to stick with him. And now after Todd said he's breezing well and looking good leading up to this thing, I feel even better about it. So I'm going to go with him. And I think outside of, Uncle Chuck and what we want to see from him, I really think the most interesting in the field in terms of gambling and putting a ticket that's worthwhile to me is Caracaro. Second by a neck in the Peter Pan. Speed gets better each race. I'm not sure we know what the ceiling is. So that's where I'm looking to make some money on a ticket today. I think he hits the board somewhere, probably third, but I think he hits the board somewhere.
We're getting a lot of Tis the Law, a lot of Uncle Chuck, a little Country Grammar as well, and a lot of mentions here of Irad Ortiz. Ren.
Okay, gosh, my heart is with Tis the Law, but Uncle Chuck, I'm just looking at him on the track right now. He is stunning. What we've seen of him stride-wise takes my breath away. We saw what he did 1,000 Words, and 1,000 Words came back to win the Shared Belief with 104 Fire. This horse has multiple Travers winners in his pedigree, including some of the all-time greats in Damascus, Sword Dancer, and Buck Passer. Uncle Chuck.
Todd, we know you're a trainer, not a gambler, but if you were to give advice to anybody watching, or at least kind of just for fun, give us your projected trifecta. What would it look like?
It's probably not going to be very creative, but I would go Tis the Law over Uncle Chuck over Caracaro.
Okay.
Can you see the horses right now? Do you have the feed on? I'd love your opinion on how they look as they're heading to the post.
The feed I have on is it's kind of an aerial view, so I can't get a very good view of the horses.
I think that's Uncle Chuck. Yeah, Uncle Chuck is just taking a dump. So
okay.
Lighten his load.
I was gonna say Todd was like with the aerial view. He's like, I'm good, but I'm not that good. I can't tell you from this perspective.
I know that sales switch anytime.
Look, I'm sensing a lot of of all the opinions. I mean, look, and there are two pretty basic ones. It's Uncle Chuck or Tis the Law. But of the outsiders, I like the sort of energy and the excitement that I'm sensing from Todd about Caracaro, who I already liked a little bit, and whose price has the only horse whose price has steadily come down since we were on. I mean, it was 24-1 earlier, was 18-1 a couple of minutes ago, now 11-1. So definitely some late money coming in on Caracaro. So and Country Grammar right now 12-1 to I guess that would be third choices right now. Ren, are you actually betting this race, or are you sitting back?
I'm sitting back and enjoying. I'm not going to make any money off this, so.
All right.
But Tis the Law is so pretty too. I love the white rimmed eye. That's definitely a trait that's passed down from AP Indy. In case people weren't watching earlier, the connection to Tis the Law with AP Indy is the fact that he's a son of Constitution, Constitution a son of Tapit, Tapit by Pulpit, Pulpit by AP Indy.
All right, and we're all a little quieter now because we're all getting those last second bets. And if you're wondering what's going on, Todd, you're like, why are they not speaking?
You're betting on a race with a 1-2 and the second. Well, okay.
We're just gambling.
The fact that 2 and Uncle Chuck is actually not bad.
Yeah, 5-2 to me is like fair to make a win bet.
I agree.
I think he should be shorter than that. He's not going to be much shorter than 2. I think he will still end up at 2, but if you can get the 2.5 when it's all said and done, I think that's more than fair.
Lots of comments still coming in. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in today to Breeders' Cup Live using hashtag BC Live. Overwhelmingly, Tis the Law, I believe. If you were to, I'm kind of just doing this, just eyeing it up. It looks like Tis the Law largely is the pick of the fans here, followed by Uncle Chuck and a bit of support for Country Grammar, at least amongst the viewers here. If you're looking, again, like we mentioned this a few times, we are here with you as your second screen experience to take you through the big races, especially on Win and You're In Saturdays, and we had to Win and You're In earlier with the Ballerina. If you're looking to watch the race while you have us up, you could turn on Fox. The race is on Fox if you have access to a TV currently.
Matt, where's Tis the Law want to be? Right behind Uncle Chuck?
Well, Tis the Law. The beautiful thing about him is he's so versatile. If there's some kind of dawdling pace, which I don't think there's going to be, he can be forwardly placed. He can sit just off of it if necessary, or he can come from a little bit farther off of it. And I think that to me is, that's another piece with Uncle Chuck that we don't know. He's never been out of Southern California. He's really never done a heck of a lot. He's only run twice in the afternoon. Tis the Law, 1 turn sprint, 2 turns, New York, Florida. It doesn't make a difference. He just shows up and runs. So, feather in his cap for that situation. I think the versatility is key. I'll be very interested to see where Uncle Chuck is positioned. I'd imagine Chivalry goes and Uncle Chuck sits just off in probably a similar position, I think, in an ideal world to what they saw in that Los Al Derby, where you can get him sort of 2 or 3 lengths off of it early on, start to make that move down the backside and round in the far turn. But from the inside or breaking toward the inside, that's no bargain. He's going to have to probably get out of there in good order.
Well, it looks like the gates are now open. Uncle Chuck is on the lead
behind
here. Yeah, Uncle Chuck on the lead. Chivalry sitting off. I thought Chivalry might attempt to try to get there. It just might not be fast enough. 3 wide. Tracking them is Tis the Law. Also, Todd, if you have any observations while this is going on, certainly feel free to chime in.
I'll say that was a bad start for Max Player.
Caro tracking the front 4 now. Behind him is Max Player, and South Bend is at the back of the pack. But look, quarter in 23-3 for Uncle Chuck, getting some token pressure here from Chivalry, but not necessarily being absolutely pressed. 48-1. I mean, these are coming back fairly soft. At this very moment, Uncle Chuck, I mean, you would think has no excuses.
No, it looks like he's looking along.
Here comes Tis the Law. Yeah.
I don't want to say peculiar ride on Chivalry. I mean, I think the only chance to win was to go. Maybe I'll, look silly in a moment, but.
Looks like we've got our race, guys.
Yep. All right, 3 quarters in 1:11-4. Uncle Chuck is being asked, and Tis the Law is still pretty much coasting right up to him, and looks like has a little bit of neck advantage right now.
Wow.
Tis the Law is not even being asked right now.
No, wow.
Uncle Chuck isn't done though. He's coming. He's fighting on the rail.
Not changing his lead. Wow, Tis the Law blew him away.
Yep. Here comes Caro. Wow, geared down. Tis the Law.
That was amazing. Ears up.
Wow.
Todd, oh my gosh, your reaction.
Very, very impressive. But
wow.
Like we talked about before, he's just a horse that makes his own trip. They weren't going that fast, so he just turned up the pressure when he was ready.
Wow.
High cruising speed and a turn of foot makes him really hard to beat. Look at him gallop out.
There you
pull
go.
him off. That's the way he's been breezing it.
Wow.
Now, Todd, a quick question. I mean, you obviously the Derby is going to be next for this horse. If he were to win the Derby, given the timing of the Preakness and then the Breeders' Cup, I mean, 4 races at 1 mile and 3/16 or greater in a span of 4 months. I mean, in modern days, that's unheard of. Would that be a major concern for you?
You know, I mean, he still seems like a fresh horse the way he ran today.
Yeah.
He just, I mean, that was pretty effortless. So you just take, I think, for them, Barkley's such an experienced horseman. He'll know, how his horse is doing. And I thought it was interesting, his comments when people were asking him if he thought he would handle the 1.25 miles, and he said, I've never seen him take a deep breath. and I don't think he saw him take one today either.
No.
Wow.
Wow.
That was great. Great.
That was awesome.
A lot of excited. Not that comment. Let me see. We'll come do the pace. So yeah, he did that and then some. Tiz the Law wins. Tiz the Law galloping. So look, a lot of excited people there to see Tiz the Law win, and you can thank Todd for the exacta because
yes, you still got your Constitution Uncle Mo exacta. It was just with Caracaro and not Uncle Chuck.
That's right.
And that was the horse that you were really telling us about. And he definitely is stamped by Uncle Mo. He is prepotent, that horse.
He really is. Yeah, for sure. That was a big race from him for a lightly raced horse.
Yes.
All right. Todd. Oh yeah. Oh, do you want to squeeze in? You can squeeze in one more question. I mean, look, Todd, I don't know if you have any plans. I know Saratoga's a little quieter right now. It's
I was going to say, how does this affect your decision making going forward with the Kentucky Derby? Seeing this performance.
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I think this might be one year where we actually don't see 20 horses in the Kentucky Derby. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what kind of approach a lot of people take. But I didn't see the final time. Did anyone see the final time? 1:36 and 42 1/100ths.
2 and.
Oh, sorry. What am I thinking? I'm looking at the miles. 2 minutes and 4/5. I'm sorry.
2
I'm
minutes and 4/5.
I'm so out of it.
Yeah.
That would have been the fastest Travers ever.
Yeah.
Did you say "Dear
sure.
God"?
No, I said geared down.
Oh, you said "Dear God."
No, that was very impressive.
Gosh, no, that's certainly a horse that for Saratoga Stables, it's such a great story too, because of what happened with Funny Sign, of course, and they already got their Belmont. Of course, it wasn't 1.5 miles, but still, this is pretty much if he can win the Derby off this and then go on, it's so weird talking it this way, but then win the Preakness. I know it's not a traditional Triple Crown, but I would say it's something much, much more difficult to achieve.
For sure.
Look, we've been trying to give Todd an out here.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, Todd.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Todd, thank you very much.
Todd. Take care.
I wanted to keep him forever. Why? Why give him an out?
When am I going to get some props here? Like,
oh, yes.
What are we waiting for? Like,
props.
Bam. Thank you.
Yeah,
well done, Bram.
Absolutely.
The heart of a champion.
The heart of a champion.
Well, I called that. I called Caro too. I have the players. So
I wish. Look, I always take these silly stands. I singled. I knew
you were going to win when you went on the radio show with me and demanded, screamed, and yelled "Uncle Chuck" a million times. I
know.
Oh, he's losing now.
I singled American Sailor. I singled My Sister Nat, and of course, I singled Uncle Chuck. But I could have gone too deep.
Why did you go?
Why? Because that's what I do. I mean, that's just what I do. I mean, why not? I mean,
I had it harder than it has. It's already hard enough, Dan. Why make it harder than it has to be?
Visually, I thought I'd seen something special from Uncle Chuck, and I think it was a great race. But look, to your point, he hadn't faced a horse like this, and you could see him turning for home. I mean, he didn't. Did he ever switch leads? I mean, Matt, you're the lead guy.
Super late, and I think it would be a very, very
right?
I think it would be a very drastic move to write this horse off. He did not run well today. There's no two ways around it.
Yeah, right.
But don't just totally dismiss him going forward. He got his doors blown off by a pretty special animal. I mean, This is to me far and away, and I get it. Maybe it wasn't the most loaded Travers we've ever seen, but it was a pretty darn good one. I mean, I thought his Belmont was spectacular. This makes the Belmont look like a tune-up. I mean, this was, and to Ren's point, I mean, he had his ears up for the final 16th of a mile. I mean, he was out there cruising along, and he blew the doors off this field.
He looks so happy out there.
If Fletcher's right, and we don't have a full field Derby, he's going to win the Triple Crown.
I don't know. The thing is, I don't know at this point. We only have 4 weeks roughly to the Derby. I don't know who else do you even put in the same breath? I mean, do you put 1,000 Words? Who again? I understand to me, he's not
like no.
But this is what I'm saying. I'm just trying to figure out: is there anyone else that you can make a legitimate case for after seeing this right now?
No, this is something very, very, very special. This is something you see just once in a while. I think. I mean, to see a horse. I mean, just like you said, blow the doors off a competitor, lightly raced or not, a horse who had shown his form and legitimacy, and do it with just. I mean, it was a hand ride. The horse was absolutely at ease and running for simply the joy of it. And you do not see such ease in a grade 1 like that. I don't know. This is a special horse.
I think one of my favorite things is it feels like, and this is just me maybe caught up in the moment. He feels like the kind of horse. He reminds me of a horse like a Shared Belief, where you had the ability to win at 1.25 miles, but I could have just as easily seen him winning the Allen Jerkins last weekend at 7/8 of a mile. I mean, it doesn't. You don't see that all the time. I mean, we're looking at a horse that, if you can be that good, given his athleticism, the fact that he's not the kind of horse that needs to really warm the engine up and go. It's when Manny says go, he goes, or if he asks him to kind of pull back a bit, he listens to command on cue. He's a damn special animal at this point.
I know. I feel like you. I am a little scared that I'm getting caught up in the moment also. But like I said, how often do you see a grade 1 that way?
Not like that.
And the other thing as well, I mean, again, this is a really well-bred horse. So for me, I love seeing that. He's got a stallion's pedigree. I feel so bad. I wish I had Randy back to say, look, I am so sorry for even trying to beat the horse.
All of us, except for Bram.
Yeah, we were all.
Except for Bram, right?
Except Bram.
Well, let me be.
Put that back up there and show people who.
Let me be just slightly contrarian here. Let me just like look at not for today. Today, Bram wins. Bram is the king. Bram is the master. Tis the law. Tis the law is the best horse in the world. Good. Now, to the point that I was trying to make earlier about deciding to run in this spot.
Keep explaining how you weren't wrong.
That horse today was sharper than we've ever seen him. We've never seen him run a race that good and do it that easily. I'm not saying that he doesn't have 1 or 2 more of these left in the tank. Maybe he does.
He walked home.
But you cannot get any sharper than that.
Home in the Belmont Stakes.
Oh,
if a month from now he finishes 3rd, you might look back on this and say, well, gee, they sure did have him ready on Travers Day. That's all I'm saying.
You know who's got a real shot at him? Dr. Post does. Okay. He's going to have all of this extra time off, and he was the one that finished 2nd in the Belmont and was moving up on him. He's the one that's going to have a shot at him. And if Pletcher's right, there's not 20 horses in the field this year. It's a smaller field. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, this horse just beat it's 6 other, or how many? We had a scratch out.
6, right?
Come on, yeah. Like I don't think he's going to be necessarily. Although the one thing is thank goodness there will be less chance of him getting ping ponged around. But the thing is this horse barely. He doesn't even look like he caught his breath. Once they got him over there toward the winner's circle, like any horse would need to. But that being said, going down the stretch there, he didn't look like he broke a sweat. It looked like he was out there for a gallop. And they always say, for example, when you're watching horses work and you see a final time is relative. You can have a horse who looks like they're all out in a work and they, clock in at 50, 58 and change. But you can have a horse lope around and it's like, oh gosh, this horse is going to have clocked in at 1 flat, and it'll be the same time of a 58 and change. So the fact that he did that so easily, I don't think this took anything out of him. I mean, we'll see. I'm definitely not a prognosticator, but that being said, It didn't look like
it was one of those. And Matt, I know you want to get a word. I just want to say real quick.
Yeah, no,
Just to clarify my position, and Tom, yes, I will go down swinging on this. Not because I don't have buyer's remorse on Uncle Chuck. Tis the Law is better. Just won.
Agreed.
I mean, and was incredible today. Sometimes we look for horses to bounce or regress off of efforts in which they're head and head with another horse. They're battling and dueling the whole way. All I'm saying is that regression is also possible off a race like that, even if visually the horse did it easily and was geared down. That horse ran like an absolute freak show today. I mean, that was absurd what we just saw. He's a 3-year-old too. I mean, can he come back in a month and do the same thing? Yes. Would I be even more impressed if he did that same thing again in a month or no? Yes. I would say, he's one of the greatest horses I've ever seen. If he could come back, do this in the Derby and do it a month later in the Preakness, top 5 horse I've ever seen. I'm sorry.
Fair. No, look.
You had him beat 10 minutes ago.
I think
one of the greatest horses I've ever seen that I didn't bet on.
I'm hedging. My gut. I'm hedging. My gut is that he comes back and does not win the Derby now. Like this might really 5 minutes after that.
Wait a month.
Now look, there's an interesting horse. There's an interesting horse that we're probably giving short shrift to. He's going to run tomorrow at Ellis Park.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not write off Art Collector.
Yeah.
Because I feel like he continues to be, I don't want to say the forgotten horse,
mm-hmm.
but I mean, it feels like people just kind of gloss over him when talking about Honor AP and Tis the Law. And obviously Uncle Chuck was involved with that. And I mean, Art Collector's a really talented runner. The only other thing that I'd throw out there, and I don't think it'll happen, but there's a scenario where we've talked about how there's a chance that the Derby does not fill to 20. At that point, the points become, I don't want to say meaningless, but you have the opportunity to enter if it's like any other year that we've seen. I just wonder if Baffert would at least have a second thought about this filly. I'm not saying that he's going to. He'll probably run in the Oaks with her. But with the way that Gamine ran today, I would look at it and say, who outside of Tis the Law, and maybe you just don't think you can beat him. Outside of him, who are you afraid of if you got Gamine?
Right, you can get a filly with a placing in the Derby. It'd be pretty.
And that's assuming that the field doesn't fill to a full 20, which many people, and we talked about it earlier today. I mean, if you only end up with 15 horses entered, you can cross enter at that point, enter in the Oaks and the Derby. And if you look at the Oaks, I think there's a chance that the 3-year-old girls, it's a deeper division than the boys are.
No.
And that doesn't mean that the 3-year-old boys aren't a good group. It's just that it's rather top heavy at this point. I don't know. I think it's fascinating. I don't know that I have the gumption to bet against this horse.
I don't have the Constitution.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there it is. There it is.
I do.
Dan does. Dan, that horse could win 15 races in a row. Dan's going to bet against
but I just told you, if he wins the Derby, I'll be totally silenced. As we sit here right now, I am absolutely awestruck of what he just did. Like what he just did.
Okay, but
go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to put this in historical context for you because what was the final time? 2 and 4, 95th,
yes.
100th. Okay. In context, I believe this is the now 5th fastest Travers ever run behind Arrogate, General Assembly, Honest Pleasure, Easy Goer, and now this boy, Tis the Law.
Like I said, maybe he's one of the greatest. He's one of the greats. Maybe he's one of the all-time greats. And if he is, then he should have no problem going to Churchill, winning by 5 lengths again,
on that hill,
and then following it up a month later by winning the Preakness, and then following it up by winning the Breeders' Cup Classic because he's one of the greats.
This is what Dan does. Dan takes a stand on things, and it doesn't matter what it is. He will never back off. What was it, Bodie Express, that you just determined?
Stop.
Bodie Express is going to win tomorrow.
Matt knows what's up.
Bodie Express is going to win tomorrow. He's going to win the Aladar.
If Bodie Express was in the Travers today, he would have won by 20 lengths.
Easily.
Well, as a 4-year-old, he had an unfair advantage.
He still loses by 10.
The only thing I'd say though, to your point about this being, just like an jaw dropping kind of performance. I mean, his Belmont was pretty damn good too.
Yeah.
And for him to wheel, and I get it, that was almost 7 weeks ago. sure, maybe this was perfect timing to Todd Fletcher's point, and that, you know what, maybe the 4 weeks from now is going to be a little bit sharp, and that's not even including what could potentially be down the road. But man, I have a really difficult time, and I don't even know. I'd have to look and see what all the final times look like if the track was playing exceptionally fast or slow and all that kind of jazz. But unless Art Collector does something really special tomorrow, I have a really difficult time envisioning myself trying to get cute. I mean, he just looks like he's. I mean, this is now. Let me pull up the past. I mean, this year alone, you take a look at the races that he's run going back to Gulfstream. The smallest margin of victory has been 3 lengths.
Yeah,
I'm at a point now where it's like,
and he had some trip trouble in that race too. I mean, he had some issues on the rail. So
he won in spite of being kind of tucked up in the pocket and then trying to get out. And I'm at a point now where I wonder. I can't imagine he ran any slower than something around a 100 buyer. I mean, that just seems to be the ballpark. It's the ballpark that he lives in anyway. And I'm getting to the point now where it's like, I don't know if I want to bet against him.
I'm honestly torn between this question of betting against him or not, between thinking like, hey, maybe he's going to regress off of this, and saying no. Like, if he doesn't regress, then he is just an incredible horse. I mean, he's a horse like we've seen very few of in our lifetime. So it's one of two things: he either keeps moving forward and he's an absolute superstar for the ages, or he takes a step back and he's still an absolutely incredible horse. But my point in this discussion in particular is running him in this spot and having him so ready for this spot. Does that potentially hurt him a month from now? Look, and maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe even if he regresses, to your point, Matt, maybe there's no one else who's just in this 3-year-old crop who's in his ballpark. So, and I think that might also very well be true. And look, I like Honor AP a bit still. I mean, I think you could.
Oh yeah, we can't forget about Honor AP, right?
Don't put too much stock. Or at least completely throw him out based on the race last week.
I thought he looked good finishing Honor AP. I thought he looked great. Like I said, in finishing up that race. But how awesome, by the way, again, as an AP Indy fan, is that? And that here we've got, through the line of Constitution, AP Indy, Honor AP, probably being a lot of people's second choice. I know, Matt, you're saying you really are intrigued by Art Collector, but with Honor AP being a son of Honor Code, being a son of AP Indy.
Ren,
yes.
Do you have the mask with you?
I do, actually.
Oh, look at you, always. Go ahead. Let us know what we're looking at here. By the way, I bought these last week after our show.
Oh, wow.
For my dad. Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. So, as we've been saying, there is no reason you cannot still look fashionable while being safe. So get a Breeders' Cup mask and represent your sport.
I like that.
Get them. BreedersCupShop.com, the website on the bottom of your screen there, supports COVID-19 relief efforts. The other thing going on, Ren, you know the pitch here. What is? Oh, there he is. There he is. What do they call those things again?
Navy. That's what I've been doing.
What do they call those?
The Navy.
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 Go Navy.
Yeah, go Navy.
I mean, you look like you're about to rob someone, and you don't need to with your.
I just did.
Oh my gosh!
All right, charity for champions.
Charity for champions. Yeah,
it's an excuse to buy
and help
a nice
people.
Bottle of whiskey. Yeah, Ren, tell people about this.
Well, I don't have the actual verbiage right in front of me right now, but they have these collector editions of Maker's Mark, and you can go ahead. Charity for Champions, and you have to access this part of the website. You have to be 21 years or older, or at least put in a date that makes it look like you are. And there's no bouncer at the website door. So basically, let's raise a glass to the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame, old friends, and the Racetrack Chaplaincy of America's COVID-19 relief efforts. Reserve your limited edition Ted Bassett bottle today. And they not only have Ted Bassett on their bottles, but I believe there is also Mike Smith, and there's the Mike Smith, and the coach, D. Wayne Lucas.
So go, Bram, with all your money that you just won, the website is breederscup.com, charity-for-champions. Definitely get in on that. Want to mention, while we won't be live next week with Breeders' Cup Live, you can watch Breeders' Cup action on NBC next week. Matt, you know anything about that?
I will be there. Yeah, I believe it's 5:00 for the Alabama. We'll be taking a look at the 3-year-old fillies going 1.25 miles.
All right. What are you in for the for the distaff?
I would imagine it's the distaff. That would be my guess.
Breeders' Cup distaff.
But hey, don't hold it against me. If
No, that sounds right.
I will hold everything against you.
Bram. Yeah, go ahead.
Who you got? Lakers and Bucks. Who you got? I'm going the other way. Whichever one you got.
By the way, I played the FanDuel like parlay boost yesterday. It was Celtics. Who, by the way, if you didn't watch the game, they were up by like 70 points the whole game, and they ended up winning. So okay, check. And Jason Tatum over 23 points. Of course, basically stepped off the court with like 6 minutes to go in the third. Never saw action again because they were up by 100 points. So ended up with 18 points. And yeah, you want my picks for tonight?
Why not?
No, I'm kidding. I don't have any picks for tonight.
It was about as efficient a basketball game as you'll ever see from the Celtics last night.
No, they weren't missing anything. I was
and defensively they were fantastic.
Yeah, no, I'm rooting for them. I was like rooting for them so that I'd have the Celtics win, which is I needed. And then I was like, stop scoring. This is not good. Stop scoring. Bram, let us know what's going on. What we have, what you have coming up next couple of weeks. What's on the horizon, and where people can check you out.
Let's see. I have 18 jobs, so it's not worth going down the resume. But the Winter Circle, you should listen to the Winter Circle. Dan, you and I offline need to talk about that since you're going on vacation this week. We do need to talk about it. So, Ren, if you're not busy, we'd love to have you on the radio next week.
Oh, well, gosh, I would love to.
All right, good. It takes care of good. That's 1 of 3, Dan. See, we're getting stuff done here.
We're doing okay. Good. I don't mind that.
I can fill time.
I do a million things. You can find me. I'm like Matt, really all over the place.
All right, Ren, let us know where people can check you out.
You can check me out on Twitter and YouTube for Breeders' Cup with the Future Stars forecast as we look ahead at the youngsters we may see making headlines into 2021 ahead of this year's Future Stars Friday, November 6th at the Breeders' Cup at Keeneland in Lexington. I'm always looking for new stars, and I try to project who may be on the ascent by looking back at their pedigrees and seeing if they have any ped cred. In which case, I'm very excited about Tiz the Law because you have multiple Breeders' Cup champions in his pedigree, again, being from a sideline of AP Indy, being out of a dam by Tiz Now, and the female family, including Favorite Trick, who won the Breeders' Cup Juveniles. So, all
right, before we go, we got this question: the Get Out race. Anybody got action here?
Oh, on the fly.
It's a main special weight, but it's for 3-year-olds. So
I'm 3'7". I'm 3'7". I'm actually in a contest right now, which I'm in first in. And I was originally on the 3, and I switched to the 7. So if you think, as Bram is suggesting, that my luck is starting to go south, you may want to go with the 3. But look, it's one of these races where Jorge Abreu. I mean, mostly Abreu, Franco. When they team up, occasionally we'll sneak one. I don't know what I don't have the odds here, the live odds. Let me see what we got.
Dan, who's running with the deuce?
Who's on the 2?
No, I'm saying who's running with the deuce? The 2 is.
Oh, who
isn't the 2 clear by 3? Who has the early speed to run with?
Yeah, but it's tough. I actually had this discussion earlier this week in terms of trying to read pace in these races. It's so tough because look, you got a couple of you have 3 or 4 horses that only have 1 or 2 races, and you got the 4 as a first-time starter. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, look, in theory, based on the way they've run so far, the two should be loose. So
let's go with something funny happening, and let's go with Kelly Breen taking the call as trainer for Misty Taste, even though she showed absolutely nothing in the first 2 starts. But the fact she's by Verzono and out of a Yes It's True mare and has been firing bullets.
Yeah, off a nice break too.
Yep. And she is 9-2 on the morning line. So,
Verrazano.
The current line. What am I saying?
Verrazano. I know who trained him.
I think I know who trained him too. So, yeah, I mean, guys.
Actually, he had 2 trainers. Who am I kidding? He had O'Brien too.
That's right. I kind of wanted to joke with Todd over the fact that he eventually trained Keen Ice, and of course we know as you tried to bring up in there about Keen Ice beating American Pharoah in the Travers Stakes. But I wanted to ask him if he's ever people just seeing that he was the last trainer on the race record there if he's ever gotten any flack for that. Like, we hate you, Todd. You beat Pharaoh. But it was Dale Roman at the time.
All right. Look, I just looked up. I noticed it's 6:45, and some of us, not me, but
I could stand all night. But yeah,
just Bram have like kids and a family to get back to. So
look at that look.
I was busy Googling bone modeling. Don't do that.
Well,
be surprised it comes up.
On that note, thank you for watching Breeders' Cup Live.
Yes.
We will see you next time.